Hello, thank you for watching my channel today. My name's Sarah and my channel is called Your True Shelf, and I'm back today with a video about all the books that I've hauled in 2025. So there's quite a lot of books. I'm going to talk about the ones I have and haven't read, but I'm not going to talk about them in detail because obviously the video would be too long. So I've divided them into categories by genre. So if you're particularly interested in one genre over another, then I will put some timestamps in so that you can watch the ones that appeal to you the most. So I'm going to start with historical fiction. So for this one, I've got a pile of books just on the floor, so I'm just going to pick some of them up. First and probably heaviest is the rest of the Cazalet Chronicles. So I already had book 1 and this is books 2 to 5. They came as a set. It was cheaper to buy them all as a set rather than individually. The Cazalet Chronicles are a series of books set in between World War I and World War II, and then moving on to World War II, focusing on a couple who are in their probably 70s, their 3 sons and a daughter, and their grandchildren, and all of their lives, how they interact with each other. It's a multi-generational family saga. It's really good. I have read book 1 and book 2. I'm buddy reading these with Aaron from Aaron Read a Book. Aaron read a book, and I am buddy reading book number 3 imminently. So we'll be over halfway through the series soon. The next one, we're going way back in time. And this one is The Gates of Rome by Con Iggulden, which is part of a 5-book series called Emperor. And he also has a series which starts with The Gates of Athens, so he's done a Greek one as well. So I saw this recommended by the brothers Gwyn, who are fans of Con Iggulden's work, and am very much kind of in the mood still. I love ancient history, like that's my favourite historical time period to read about, and especially having read the Boudica series this year, I really wanted to dig into Rome some more. And this is a different time period because this is set around Julius Caesar. Talks about gladiatorial combat, foreign wars, and a dynamic power struggle which is about to shake the Republic to its core. So I just find this really fascinating. So I'm really excited about reading this one. Around similar times of ancient history again, we have Boudica's Daughter by Elodie Harper. I haven't wrapped this up yet, but I have finished it. I wasn't feeling so positive about it when I started talking about it quite early on in the book, but I feel a lot more positive about it now that I have finished it. So I'm not going to talk about this one now purely because I am going to wrap it up in my next wrap-up video, but it's focusing on 1st century AD, Boudica's daughters rather than Boudica herself, and taking life on after Boudica's death and what happens. Obviously we don't know, but this is Elodie Harper's version of what happens. The next one is one which was a favourite this year, and it was Glorious Exploits by Ferdia Lennon. This is a really, really fantastic ancient history book where we are in Sicily, and there are Athenian prisoners, and there are 2 potters who are trying to get the Athenian prisoners to put on 2 plays in exchange for food. And it's basically about that whole story. We get to know particularly one of the potters very well, and it's very humorous as well. So the author is Irish, and he has written it with like an Irish dialect, even though it's set in ancient Sicily, and that I thought was really interesting. Brings a lot of added humour to the book. I listened to this on audio. The author narrates it himself, and I'd really recommend his rendition because he does a fantastic job of narrating it. And then the final book that I have in the historical fiction section is The House on the Strand by Daphne du Maurier. I wasn't quite sure where to put this, whether it was going to be a classic, historical, or actually it's got some time travel, so I could have even put it in sci-fi. So there is definitely genre overlap with some of these books. So this is about a guy called Dick Young, who his friend is a professor, and he offers him a drug to escape his troubles. And Dick finds himself transported back to 14th century Cornwall. and he witnesses murder and adultery and intrigue at that time. And he basically starts withdrawing from the modern world and spending more and more time in 14th century Cornwall, and his body and his mind are becoming more addicted to the past. But he keeps taking this drug, but he's putting his present day life in jeopardy. So yeah, I don't know what category this would come under. It's published as a modern classic. Either way, I still think Daphne du Maurier, I've never been disappointed yet with one of her books. So the next category, I only have one, and that is middle grade. And this is the Chronicles of Weatherwhy. And this is the beginning of a new series by Anna James. So I haven't finished actually. I've got one book left in the Tilly and the Book Wanderers series. And so when I knew that Anna James had a new series coming out, I really wanted to start it. I was planning on reading this with my children, but we've been reading the Nevermore series for so long that I'm not sure whether I'll end up reading this by myself. We'll see. This is about, let's have a look because I can't remember. Okay, this sounds really good. This is about people who can use, in Weatherwhy, they can use magic of the seasons to create magic. And there are some people called enchanters who can wield magic in all 4 seasons. We're following Juniper, who is a girl who can do this, and so she's invited to a special school, and her twin brother is not invited, but he wants to come with her, and he wants to take up an apprenticeship in bookbinding, and he then gets involved with a group of people who are doing mysterious things. So this sounds really good. There's a dragon on the front cover, which is always a good sign. That bodes well if there's dragons in it. So I'm really looking forward to getting started with this series. Now I'm going to move on to general fiction. So I bought a bundle of books from World of Books at the beginning of the year, and two of the I wanted to buy as many books as I could by Lily King, because she is one of my favourite authors, and I bought some of the ones I'd already read, but the ones I haven't read are these two. So we have The English Teacher and we have The Pleasing Hour. So we'll start with The English Teacher. So this is about a woman called Vida. She arrives at an academy 15 years before, and she's pregnant and she's on her own, and she becomes one of the best teachers that the school has ever had, and she keeps her son and herself in quite an isolated existence, and she keeps a secret. And she then, it says, she impulsively accepts a marriage proposal, and after that the life that she'd built with her son is swiftly dismantled. So that's that one. And then The Pleasing Hour, which has got a very sort of retro cover, is about Rosie, who is an American au pair living in Paris, who's been fleeing an unspeakable loss which left her longing for a family. So she becomes an au pair. She wants to bond with this family. She bonds with the parents and the children, but then the middle daughter suspects there's something more going on between the au pair and her dad. And then there's family secrets and stuff which are going to come out. So that's her first book that she's ever written. So that's the 2 Lily Kings that I got that I haven't already read. Then I found this one was one that I found in a little free library, and this is We All Want Impossible Things by Catherine Newman. So this one is going to be my TBR spin book for November, so I will be reading this soon, and I just love the cover of this book. It's really cool. And so I read Sandwich by Catherine Newman and really loved it, so I saw this and was like, yeah, I definitely want to have this. This sounds really sad, but apparently it's not too sad. So it's about Edie and Ash, who have been best friends for over 40 years and seen each other through all of the sort of milestones in life from childhood onwards. And Edie gets diagnosed with terminal cancer, and it's about how their relationship changes, but it says it's also about squeezing the joy from every moment and about learning to hold on and when to let go. So I think when I first read about the back, I thought, oh my God, it sounds incredibly sad. But I have heard that it's still a really good book with enough joy in it as well. So it's quite a short book, and it looks like it's quite sort of easy to read. I read Sandwich really quickly and loved that. So that's that one. And then the rest of the books, I've got one more physical book and the rest were Kindle books. So put those down. The next one is Lonesome Dove. The Big Old Trunk. Again, this could have gone in historical fiction, I guess, but this won the Pulitzer Prize, and everyone who I've heard talking about this book has absolutely loved it and has raved about it. And it should have definitely gone in historical. It's set in the 1880s. I didn't realise it was that long ago. I know it's a Western, and it's following two guys on an epic journey, Augustus and W.F. Call, and they're former Texas Rangers, reminiscing about their old days and making this journey. So this is part of a series, but this one was written first, and then I think some of the subsequent ones are set before this one, but this one was written first, so I'm starting with this one, and everybody says it's amazing, so I'm excited to read it. Next we have the Kindle book. So I've got My Friends by Hisham Matar, which I'm excited to read. This is about two friends called Khalid and Mustafa. They are Libyan, they're 18 years old, and they are studying in Edinburgh. The plan is when they finish their studies that they're going to go back to Libya. But on a whim, they decide to go to a protest outside the Libyan embassy in London, and government officials open fire on the crowd and sort of change their lives forever. And over the years that follow, Khalid, Mustafa and another friend called Hassam, they're bound together by their shared history and what happened to them. Then I believe there's a revolution in Libya, and they have to decide whether they're going to go to that or whether they're going to stay in London with the lives that they've created. So I really like the sound of that. It's got a really high rating, and I'm excited to get to that one. The next one is The Echo of Old Books by Barbara Davis, which is one that one of my friends recommended to me, and I think it was on a 99p deal at the time. So this is about someone called Ashlyn who, when she handles old books, she can get a sense of who the previous owner was and what their story was when she holds the books. And then she comes across this pair of books that were never published, and they had these inscriptions on the side, and one's by Hemi and one's by Belle, and they tell conflicting sides of a tragic romance. And Ashlyn becomes like obsessed with this, and she really wants to find out like what happens and what's the truth. And it also has, I think, a link with her own life. So my friend said this was really, really good. It's not something I probably would have bought based on the cover, but again, things can really surprise you. You shouldn't judge a book by its cover, even though it's really hard not to. I have a book that was on the Women's Prize long list this year, which is Nesting by Rashina O'Donnell, which is why I bought this book. I still haven't read it. I know it's a story of domestic abuse, and it's an Irish book. It's the mum and her child or children escape from a domestic abuse relationship, and then I think the man manages to persuade them to go back, I think, and it's kind of what happens from there. I have to, stuff like that, I just want to make sure that I'm in like the right headspace to read a book which covers a really difficult topic like that, which is why I haven't read it yet, but it is supposed to be fantastic. Next, I have 3 books by Frederick Buckman, because I read and hauled My Friends by Frederick Buckman, which I adored, and I've spoken about that book quite a lot, so I won't dwell on that one, but all I would say is read it. It was a 5-star book for me. It was absolutely wonderful. I then wanted to read everything he's ever written, and so the first book that I got was Anxious People, which is where there's an open house which is taking place on New Year's Eve, and whilst the open house is taking place, a bank robber comes in and he holds them all hostage. And I think there's humour in this as well. So it's basically focusing on the people who are stuck in this hostage situation. I think the robber is quite incompetent, and it's about what the strangers have in common with each other as well. So again, a highly rated book on Storygraph. And then the other one that I got was Britt Marie Was Here. So Britt Marie is a woman who's obsessed with order and tidiness, and very sort of wants order in her life. And she is not a judgmental person, but her interactions with other people can come across as criticisms. I think she's very socially awkward, and she leaves her husband and decides she's going to try and survive by herself. And she has a really warm heart it's just people kind of interpret her the wrong way, and she becomes involved with her new community and ends up leading a children's football team. And so it's basically, can she find a place where she truly belongs, is the theme of the story. So again, I can see in the synopsis Frank Frederick Backman's sort of sense of humour and storytelling style. So another one that is, I'm sure, will be a very good book by him. And then the final fiction book that I have is one that I've only just finished. I haven't wrapped it up yet, but it will undoubtedly be on my best books of the year, and it is Heart the Lover by Lily King. So I just mentioned Lily King and totally forgot to wrap up this, to put this book in, so I'm adding it in at the end of the section. Heart the Lover is her brand new book, which I read for my Herkied new release for the month of October. As soon as I knew she had a new book out, it was absolutely going to be my new release book for the month. It's about a woman who is nicknamed Jordan, who is at university, and she meets these two guys called Sam and Yash, who are best friends. She's dating Sam, and she spends a lot of time at the house, so she becomes really close with Yash as well. And then I don't want to say any more about what happens, but part 2 of the book is when she is older, married with kids, and she gets a visit from the past, and it changes her life again. And there is a link between this book and Writers and Lovers, and I'm not going to say what it is because it was a delight for me to find this link out. And I would suggest you read Writers and Lovers first, because I think the publishers are kind of saying you could read them in either order. I think it would be better to read, they're not like sequels to each other, but I think it would be better to read Writers and Lovers first, so that you then start putting pieces together yourself. Writers and Lovers is a book I've read twice, 5 stars both times. Lily King is amazing. Read everything she's ever written. But I would read that, and then I would read Heart the Lover. So that's the last of the fiction. So one is The Anthropocene Reviewed by John Green, which I have read and recently wrapped up. It's a series of it's an essay collection about different parts of the human experience, and he rates them out of 5 stars after he has talked about them in an essay. And then the other one is Echoland, A Journey in Search of Boudica by Duncan Mackay. So I saw him at a book event where he was interviewing Elodie Harper about Boudica's daughter, but he's a historian, and he's written this non-fiction book about Boudica. As I've already said, I'm quite obsessed with that time period and with Boudica, and so he seemed like a great guy when I saw him do this book event, and so I wanted to buy his book, and he also signed it for me somewhere. Signed for me as well, which was nice. So looking forward to getting to this and learning even more about the time period and Boudica and what his research has showed. Also in non-fiction, I have The World is Waiting for You by Edwina Finlay Dixon, which I've now read. I didn't own this, I listened to it, and then I really wanted a physical copy so I could go back and highlight this and tab it, and my mum really kindly surprised me for my birthday with my own physical copy of this amazing book, which is, the subline is Embrace Your Calling and Manifest the God Dream over your life. So this is about, it's like a faith-based book, and I think you could read it if you were of any faith, or if you just believe in a higher power which is guiding us in our life and helping us manifest our dreams, basically. So I found this like massively helpful, this book. It's practical but also really inspirational, and it's about how we can like recognize what our truest dreams are and how we can fulfill those dreams, and as practical steps on how to do that as well. And I found this was superb. I absolutely loved it. Now we're on to the young adult section, and again, these books mostly were ones that I got in my World of Books little haul I did at the beginning of the year. So the first being We Are Okay by Nina LaCour. So I read Yerba Buena by her last year, and it was mine, I think, second favourite book of the year. So I wanted to get more books by her. They're quite hard to get, and so they're more common to find second hand than they are to try and order new. This book is about a girl called Marin. She has left her home. She's only got her phone, her wallet, and a picture of her mum with her. And she's running away from an unspeakable thing that happened, and she hasn't told anybody. And she is then in her college dorm room months later, and she is there over the holidays, and her best friend is coming to visit her, and she's going to confess everything that's happened to her best friend. So that's all I know, but I'm just really excited to read another book by her because I loved Yerba Buena so much, and I'd really recommend picking that one up as well. That was a great book. Then I have one that I've read, which is the third one in the Summer I Turned Pretty series, which is called We'll Always Have Summer. I really liked this series. I watched it on TV and I have read the books as well. So I had a tradition that I bought the book and read it while I was on holiday in Cornwall each year. And I wanted to wait for the third book to get the TV tie-in edition so my set matches, which it does. I really like the spines. They're all really bright colours. They're really nice. So I think most people probably know what this is about, but it's kind of like a teen love triangle romance, and yeah, it's good. It's different from the TV series in parts, but I could kind of picture it all because I've watched the TV series. So that's that one. And then to finish off in the YA section is a Marcus Zusak trilogy. So again, Marcus Zusak's one of my favourite authors, and so I wanted to try and get all the books he's written. He wrote this YA trilogy, quite some time ago, before he got really famous for writing The Book Thief. And I read The Underdog while I was on holiday, and then the other two in the series are Fighting Reuben Wolf and Getting the Girl. So they are focused on the Wolf brothers, Cameron and Reuben Wolf, and basically just them kind of growing up, going through brotherly fights and disputes and scrapes and those kind of things. So I liked the first one. They are not, I wouldn't say they're not as good as what he went on to write, but I can see Bridge of Clay, which was my favourite book last year, which was by him. I can see the kind of first stirrings of that book in here about brothers. So that's that trilogy. So I will read books 2 and 3 because they're small, and yeah, soon. Okay, so now we are on to romance. So I'm going to do the physical books first because they are going to topple over otherwise, and then I'll do the Kindle books afterwards. There's books everywhere at the moment. So I'm going to start with another author whose work I really enjoy and I wanted to collect all of their books. It's Beth O'Leary. And right, let's try and reorganise these a little bit. So the two that I bought, which I hadn't read, were The Wake Up Call, which I still haven't read, and The No Show, which I did read and really, really enjoyed. This one is about 3 women who are all waiting for a date to arrive, and the date is the same man, and the 3 women are all waiting for him, and he doesn't show up, and he seems like a good guy, so it's a bit confusing why he didn't show up. But it's basically then taking his story with each of these 3 women and what happens, and it's really good. How she does it is very, very good. So the Wake Up Call is about a hotel where the staff and the guests are a happy family, but there are 2 people there who really don't get on, Izzy and Lucas. They're not allowed to work the same shifts as each other as they can't stand each other. Then the hotel's in trouble, and Lizzie and Lucas are forced to work together to try and save the hotel, and I think this turns into an enemies to lovers romance. The other 2 physical books I have were from my best friend for my birthday. The first is Flawless by Elsie Silver. So this is a series, this first in a series, and she really loves this series, and she's been saying to me for ages to read it, and she kindly bought me book 1. And so Elsie Silver has been like really popular recently. Okay, so I just read the back of this one. So this is about a guy who is a professional bull rider. Something's gone really wrong with his public image, and his agent is trying to get him to clean up his image, and his agent has left him with his daughter, the agent's daughter, to kind of supervise him and like make sure he doesn't get into trouble. But there's this connection between him and the daughter. He knows that she's really out of bounds because it's his agent's daughter. Doesn't sound like that's going to stop him though. Yeah, so this is like probably like a forbidden romance type of trope. And then the other one, this is so stunning. So this is The Christmas Tree Farm by Laurie Gilmore. So this is the third one in the Dream Harbour series. So I recently read the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. I don't think you have to read them in any particular order, but look at this. So this is sprayed edges with this really cute little dog here. There's all foiling on the back and the front, and amazing end papers, and look at that underneath as well. So I was so excited to get this because it's just, I love beautiful books, and this is so stunning. This will be my perfect winter read for Herkied, because it's a Christmas romance. So I'm not going to read this till December, but I am going to definitely read it in December because I'm super excited to read a Christmas book that I really want to read. So yeah, that's a great choices. I listened to Sweet Heat by Bolu Babalola, which I've read all of her books because she is fantastic. And Sweet Heat is a sequel to Honey and Spice, which I read by her last year or the year before, year before, the year it came out. I think it was 2023 actually. So it's about Kiki and Malachi, and they meet at university and fall in love and have a romance. And then I don't really want to say how book 2 starts because it starts in a different place to where we finished with book 1, and we kind of then find out what's the different circumstances are and why. And then I can't really say anymore, but it's really good. I liked Honey and Spice, I'd say, more than Sweet Heat, but I still really liked this series, and I would definitely recommend reading Bolu Babalola if you haven't before because her work is phenomenal. Then the Kindle ones, I have 2. I have Ready or Not by Cara Bastone. Anyone who has watched this channel for a while knows I'm a big fan of Cara Bastone. I've only ever listened to the ones that she wrote for Audible, which are done like plays almost. They're kind of immersive stories that have sound effects and everything in them. But this is the first actual physical book by her that I've bought, and this is about a woman who becomes pregnant after a one-night stand, and this is like obviously a massive shock to her, and the person who's there for her most is her best friend's brother, and I believe that there's a romance that is going to happen between them. Cara Bastone always writes male characters who are emotionally in touch with their feelings, great communicators, really positive, lots of green flags, and so I'm looking forward to reading this one because I think they always make me feel so happy, her books. And then finally we have First Time Caller by B.K. Borison. So B.K. Borison has become very popular recently. This is my first book of theirs that I own. This is about, I believe, a man who is a radio show host who has a show about love but has fallen out of the idea of love, which is problematic for him because that's what his show's about. And a girl calls in and says that something to do with her mum, like her mum is like wanting a boyfriend, or she thinks her mum needs a boyfriend or something along those lines. And I think the mum and the radio show host them develop a relationship. So that's the whole romance section. Next we have fantasy. So the first 2 are ones that I have already read and wrapped up, and that is the first 2 in the Dungeon Crawler Carl series by Matt Dinnerman. The first being Dungeon Crawler Carl, the second being Carl's Doomsday Scenario. These are lit RPG books. They are really funny, really adventurous, fast-paced, high stakes. Basically, the Earth has changed into a multi-level dungeon that's controlled by, I guess, aliens, but like people who don't live on Earth. It's broadcast on TV for, of course, lots of planets, and Carl's life has been turned into this video game where he has to, it's real for him, but he has to survive, beat bosses, learn magic systems, get power-ups, gain strength, and all of those kind of things. So they're really good and really funny, and I'd highly recommend the series. Looking forward to carrying on with it. Then we have Blood Over Bright Haven by M.L. Wong. This has become really, really popular on booktube. It definitely started off as being self-published. I'm not sure if it's still self-published, but It's got an average rating of 4.48. It's immensely popular among fantasy readers, so I definitely wanted to read it. And this is about Siona, who has always devoted her whole life to the study of magic. She wants to become the first woman to become a high mage and be admitted into this high magistry at the University of Study of Magic. And she achieves her dream, but she's treated as being very unwelcome because she's a woman. So she has that fight on her hands, but then she uncovers this secret which could endanger everything and change the whole magic system forever. But yeah, so it's basically like a dark academia fantasy. So that's that one. I'm going to have to do the next one in 2 separate hold-ups because I don't think I can hold them all in one go. So Robin Hobb, Realm of the Elderling series. There was a book sale on the publisher's website, Harper, and they had like 20% off everything, I think it was. So I ended up buying the next 5 in the series. So this is the concluding parts to the first trilogy, which is Royal Assassin and Assassin's Quest. So as you can see, this one in particular is very chunky. These are amazing fantasy books. They're kind of like what I describe as literary fantasy. They're like slow paced, detailed, so immersive, and following a boy called Fitz as he grows up and is trained as an assassin. And I just absolutely adored book 1. I'm really excited to get on to book 2 and 3 so that I can finish the first trilogy. And then let me just put those ones down. Right, then it's the Live Ships trilogy, is the next trilogy in the series. So the overarching series is 16 books, but it's made up of trilogies and a quartet. So we've got Ship of Magic. They're so heavy. We've got I'm gonna have to put these separately. We have Magic, the Mad Ship, sorry, there, and then we have Ship of Destiny, and they're so beautiful. So yeah, I am intending on reading the whole series, like the whole 16. My dad's on, I think, number 10 at the moment. He's doing much better than I am, considering we started book 1 at the same time. So that's the Robin Hood books. Then we have a one which is supposed to be really a funny fantasy, and this is Kings of the World by Nicholas Ames. So I've heard the brothers Gwyn talk about this, and I've heard Sarah from Freshly Read Books talk about this. This is the first in a trilogy, I think, but I don't think book 3 is out yet. And this is about a group who were like a band of mercenaries, and they were like the best, the scariest, and then now they're all like old fan drunk, it says, and they're retired, and somebody comes to them for like one last mission, and it says they'd be like really stupid to take it on, but I'm guessing they do, and it says it's time to get the band back together. And I feel that this is going to be like really humorous as well as a good fantasy book as well. And the tagline at the top is "The boys are back in town." So yeah, I think it's going to be a really good fun to read. Next we have another beginning of a series, and this is Empire of the Vampire by Jay Kristoff. I've heard Brothers Gwyn again really love this series, and I've also heard Books, Beverages and Besties talk about this. And this is about a time where the sun hasn't risen for nearly 3 decades, and so vampires are ruling the earth, and there's only little pockets of humans sort of scattered around. Yet there is one called Gabriel de Leon who has killed the vampire king, and he's a defender of a holy order defending the church, and that's utterly destroyed. He's in prison, and this is him telling his life story. So this is quite a chunker. This is 721 pages. It's got a high rating. I've heard lots of people say really good things about it, and I got that on a Kindle deal. The other book I got on a Kindle deal was Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands. So I haven't read Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies yet, but I'm really excited to read it. Cozy or sort of light academia fantasy, and I think there's some romance in there about academic called Emily Wilde, who is her area of expertise and study is fairies, and trying to discover a world where fairies are supposed to, the other lands, I think, where the main stronghold of fairies that she's trying to discover. I think it's something along those lines. And then the final few physical books books. So I have Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson, which is a standalone swashbuckling adventure about Tress, who lives on a nice sort of quiet life, I think, on an island, and the sea is emerald green, and she collects cups from sailors, and then her best friend and her dad go on a voyage to, I think, find a wife for him, and disaster strikes and Tress has to stow away to try and find out what's happened to them. So this is, again, a very popular book, and I've wanted to read it for a really long time. The next two, again, are quite heavy. So I've got Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros, which is the third book in the Empyrean series. So after Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, which I've read both of those. So this is the next instalment. It's a really beautiful hardback. I've got the other two in hardback, so I wanted this one in that as well. So that's the third book in that series. And then this is one I've only just spoken about recently. This is Alchemized by Senlin Yu. This is the longest book I own at 1,000 pages. And this is a story of Helena, who is a renowned alchemist and who has now been captured, and her fellow revolutionaries have been killed. She's imprisoned. She has problems remembering what's happened to her, and this is a dark fantasy which has been highly praised. So yeah, I'm looking forward to reading that one, and the cover is so gothic and gorgeous. So yeah, I couldn't resist that one. And then the last two, I've got one poetry collection, which is Holly McNish's new book called Virgin. Holly McNish is a poet like no other. I would hugely recommend that you go and watch her. Or go and look at her Instagram and go and look at her reading out some of her poetry, because she is such a revolutionary voice and poetry. She's funny. She talks about really important topics that are contemporary, and she makes us sort of rethink how we think about certain things, and her poems are so strong and honest and raw, but also humorous. And so I saw her, I've seen her twice. I saw her for my birthday. My lovely friend bought me a ticket for my birthday to see her live, and she also snuck off and got me a copy of her book, which is super kind. And so I am very much looking forward to reading this collection. The theme of this book is about this concept we have of virginity, and what a kind of ridiculous concept it is, and where it came from, and why people are attached to it and shamed for it, and all of the kind of the sort of things that have gone on for a long time to sort of oppress women with this idea of purity and virginity. And that's the sort of the theme of the book. And it's, yeah, the ones that she read out were great, and I'm really looking forward to reading the rest of the collection. So the very last book was is a classic, which is Hester by Margaret Oliphant, which I got for Victober because it was the group read. So I will be talking about that in my next video, so I'm not going to wrap it up now. So that really is all of the books that I have hauled, which I think makes 49. I keep a list. So this is my bullet journal. I keep a list of all the books that I buy each year, and then I highlight them when I've read them. So as you can see, there's not tons of highlighting on there, which isn't great. I do this every year. So for instance, that's last year's. Again, there's not a lot of highlighting on there, but they do get better. The further you go back in my bullet journals, they do get better, and there's less books on there this year, which is good. So yeah, that is all the books that I've hauled this year. Please let me know if you've read any of them, or if you'd like to read any of them. And if you want to make a video similar, that would be cool to see what you've hauled this year as well. And I hope you have a lovely week, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.